So it is 9:56, Friday, 7th of August, 2026, and today has been a very bad day. I woke up and I just went into a daydream and fell back asleep, I'll be honest. So I have literally just seen the charts and just instantly entered, but give you a rundown of what's gone on. We've had a break of structure here, break of structure here, this candle here, and then we've had this bullish candle, create this, and then we have entered off of I've entered off of here, which is a very poor entry. Very, very, very poor entry. With a 10 pip stop loss. Like that. So that was my first entry. That is my first entry. And if it does give me the rejection, like if it does give me a retest, because you could say another entry could be at this 50%. So if it does give me that, then I'll obviously enter for 2% risk. But then I do understand that if I do enter off this area, it can actually close above. Wait, why is it? Oh, what's going on? Uh, no. Because it has it's still part of the continuation. So movements like this is like a continuation, right? It'll keep doing this, and then eventually it will have a deep retest, and that deep retest could go above here, right? But then it could continue to the downside. But it is just it's just a deeper retest. So it doesn't invalidate the trade or anything like that. But yeah, very, very, very poor entry today. But shit happens, man. But yeah, mark up that like that. Uh, yeah, that is a possibility of an entry, but what I'd be looking for really is, retest of this area. As you can see, it's retest this area one, two, three, four times, but I just wasn't with it. Wasn't even looking at the charts, so I missed out on that. But hopefully it comes back and gives me a retest. But yeah, we're in the cell, but I don't think I'm gonna be able to get my 50% entry, which is annoying because this actually looked like a good trade. But yeah, it can always come back and retest that area though, so it's not as deep, to be honest. Ugh. But yeah, so yeah, that is the area I'd want it to come back to, right? But then this is obviously the area following my rules I should be looking to enter from. Highs create low, lows create this structure. Structures and broken structures and create this high is and broken structure, and so on. So it'll be 50%. I should have just ended with 2% risk, but I generally just looked at the charts and just entered because I knew I was in 50% of one of the zones. It sounds very bad, and it is very bad. I'm not trying to say that was smart or anything, but I knew I was within range. So I said, let me just get in, and then yeah, now that I'm in the trade, see if I can get that entry for the second trade. Ugh. But yeah, because of how this position is moving, right, that is just continuing on. If I was to enter, right, if I was to enter, having my stop loss above this area or this area wouldn't be that sensible because it still needs to have that deep retest. So that deep retest could close above both areas and then could continue to the downside. It could also go to the upside 100%. But once that deep retest happens, it will show where it wants to go. And this this high is obviously the high that created the breaker structure to the downside anyway. So we'll have to see. We will have to see. But yeah. Mm, 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 mm. What was the breaker structure? Get rid of that one. Just use that as the area to get off of. So yeah, very rushed morning, very bad start to the morning, but can't go back in time, you know? Definitely can't go back in time, so just gonna have to, if this wins, if it loses, whatever it does, just take it on the chin type of thing. But yeah, hopefully it does come to the 50%. Yeah, hopefully it does come to 50%. It gives us that entry. It's already given us that entry numerous of times, but wasn't on the charts. So That's my fault if I do miss out on it, but hopefully it does. But we're in one position. Stop loss is stop loss is stop loss is 10 pips from my entry into the 467. So we'll see if it does give us 50% entry. If it doesn't, then it doesn't. If it continues on to be a winner, great. That's 3%. Could have been 6, and that'll be annoying, but what can I do? Can't turn back time. Just gotta run with it. But if it loses, I deserve it, and oh, that is fine. But yeah, we'll have to see what happens. But yeah, we'll give you an update if anything happens. Okay, so as you can see, it has pushed up. So to be honest with you, because I've actually missed my initial entry, I'm just gonna manually enter and then yeah, deal with the consequences type thing. So if this was my original entry, 10 pips stop loss on a 50% would be 576. So I'll make both the stop losses 576, which means I'm risking 109 on one and then 119 on the other. Okay, so I'm in both trades now. One at 467 and one at 457. The entries are horrid. But you know what? It's my fault. Yeah, it's my fault. And that's all I can really say about that. It is definitely my fault still. So, stop level 576. Uh, so that is my entry. And as I said, because it is within this continuation and it is just continuing on, if it does break above this high or this high, for me, I won't see that as a, it will be a formal breaker structure, yes, but I'll be honest, I would want to see this closed out above as well. So I can know, okay, I'm fully wrong. Because what could happen is it's doing this, it's doing this, it's gaining liquidity, and then it breaks above, and then it could continue to downside. But if it breaks above all of it, then obviously I'm just wrong on it. And I'll be fine with that. But yeah, if it breaks above here, obviously that would be my first sign of, okay, maybe I am wrong. And then how it continues off of going above here, then I'll be like, okay, cool. Because it still needs that deep retest type of thing. Don't know if that makes any sense, but I know what I'm talking about. And remember, I'm going off the trades I've taken so far. Like, for example, break a structure above, break to the upside, and it's continued on. It's like a very bad example, but if you see here, you could say this was structure, right? You could say this was structure, but I think this is structure, and that's what I said in the trade. I said this was structure. So if it breaks beneath this structure, then I'd say, okay, it's a losing position. But some people say this is structure because this is the new highs, new low, create a new high. But that's not my form of structure. And as you can see, it's broken beneath it, closed beneath it, and then gone higher, and then done the same thing. And then even here, I said, okay, now this is the new structure. And then what's happened? It's retested in, wicked beneath it, or wicked into the area, failed to hold above it, and then continued to the upside, and then eventually gone all the way up. So that is my form of structure, right? But yeah, I'm now in the trade risking just over 2%. I think I'm risking 2.2 or 2.3%, which I'm okay with because I did mess up my own entry, so I can't be mad at that. And targeting a 1 to 3, and yeah, we'll see if it wins. I guess we'll see what happens. But yeah, that is my trade today. So we've caught a trade near enough every day. We've caught a trade every day this week. So yeah, we'll see how it goes, and I'll give you an update if anything happens. And also got to close the trade before 1:30 because of NFP. So yeah, got about, I'd say, 2 hours before you start to see that influence, and then yeah, I'll close the trade manually. So I have, if it doesn't stop me out any time before then, oh, 12 already got marked up. I'm absolutely out of it. Now candle at 1 p.m. If I'm still in the trade by then, that is. So 1 p.m. 1 p.m. and then maybe one at 1:15. We'll see how it acts within that region. But yeah, we'll see how this trade goes. This will be my last trade of the week. One trade a day. Hasn't been that good of a week, but the loss has been very small because of obviously how I trade and having a fixed risk reward. But by next week, we should be trading these same setups with fixed risk reward and then a stop loss above the highs and then a reward based on the risk, if that makes sense, instead of a fixed risk reward. So yeah, next week I'm gonna have still be trading this way, but I'm also gonna have an account where my stop losses will just be above the most recent high, most recent lows, and we'll see how that does in comparison to a fixed risk reward. So yeah, that's what we're gonna do next week, and I think next week as well, I might actually drop my risk down to 1%. I might actually do that. Drop my risk down to 1%. And yeah, I might drop my risk down to 1% to see how well it does across a long period, you know? See how many of my trades actually hit stop loss, or how many trades actually hit TP, and how many, do you know what I'm saying? Find out all these variables. Take, take all these variables, and instead of just trying to get more 10Ks to be able to pass quickly, like I might just go for the next 200K. I might just go for 100K, just make that jump. So yeah, that might be the new thing still. Trade how I'm trading, but risking 1%, but then get 200K or 100K and see how that goes. But yeah, that's just an update. We'll see how this trade goes. This is me risking 2% on this trade, but this is probably the last time I'll risk 2%. I'm gonna go to 1% going on next week and see how it goes. Because as you could see, I could easily pass off of hitting 15 pips back to back to back. And that happened 2 days in a row, hit back to back 15 pips. That gave me 6%. And it's like, that is trading, but I don't think that's a good way to interpret trading, that, oh, you can still pass off of never hitting your target. Like, that's not cool. So yeah, next week I'm gonna risk 1% to show that you can risk 1% still pass. It just takes longer, you know? And it's not about having bare accounts and just trying to pass them as quick as possible, because that's also not the it's not the reality for everyone. Not everyone you can even afford a 10K account, let alone loads of 10K accounts to just be able to pass. And oh, risk 2%, try pass it in a week. If it fails, I buy another one. That's not the right way to be promoting the thing. So yeah, next week I'm gonna start risking 1% and try to take it as serious as possible. And then eventually, in due time, I'm gonna get a 200K account and yeah, trade the exact same way. But yeah, we'll see how the trade plays out. Um, and yeah, give an update if it wins, loses, or breaks the upside, breaks the downside, or whatever the hell happens. Right now, this is most recent low. So yeah, see how this trade plays out. Okay, so price has broke structure to the downside again, as you can see. Move this to there. So now this area doesn't matter no more. It is just about this area, and the reason for that is because price has created this low which broke that structure. It's retested in, it's broken structure again, and it's retested back in to this area now. So it's having a lot of respect for this area, and then it's broken structure again. So that's now 3 areas that have been respected. Now, if one of them get broken above, so for example, like here breaks above, then that to me wouldn't necessarily mean it's gonna change. It could be a change of character because it's broken the most recent high, but that wouldn't necessarily be a sign, okay, to exit the trade. What would be a sign to now exit the trade would be if it was to break above all 3 of the areas, or if it breaks structure above this area, creates a high, creates a low, and then it creates a new high, and it starts that type of formation, then I'll manually close. And then it doesn't need to close above there. I'll just manually close because it's creating, it looks like it's going to start an uptrend. But right now, the trade is looking fine. Don't know how much profit we're in. It's not much though. Yeah, about 4 pips. Nothing crazy. Still got a long way to go. And we've got an hour and 15 or an hour and 20 minutes to get there. And then at 12, I'll see how the markets are moving. And if it's still moving like it's got a bit of volume, then I'll hold till 1, and then 1 will probably be my cutoff. 1 to 1:15 will be my cutoff because I'm not trying to get affected by the news. But yeah, that is the trade for today. And we'll see what happens. Update on the trade, it is 12:35 and we are still in the trade. Wait, I need to mark this properly. As you can see, we've had a close above this high, but because it hasn't broken, for me, this is now the new structure point because as you can see, it's held this area. So this would be the new structure point, right? So because that is the new structure point, if it's broken above here, it could just be a deeper retest into this area anyways. Does that make sense? It could be a deeper retest into this area because it hasn't yet created a new form of structure. So it could just be a deeper retest in and then continue to the downside. So what I'd want to see is, okay, it's closed above, so you could say this is the breaker structure. Now what I want to see is it's created a low, so this is the low it's now created, right? And now if this low then creates a new high, then I'll fully close out the trade because then that will show, okay, breaker structure of the most recent high, which you could say was here, and then it's broken it again. Okay, cool, we're changing market direction and then I can close the trade. But for now, yeah, I'm still in the trade. I still don't have a problem with it. So yeah, we'll see how it plays out. Where did I enter again? 10:15, I think. Yeah, it's about here. So yeah, that is update on the trade so far. Mhm. But yeah, that is the update. Okay, so we got 40 seconds now until the candle closes. And yeah, the that will be me manually closing the trade. So we are currently in profit of $28. And I might continue to risk 2% because my losses are very small. So I feel like if I was risking 1%, I don't even think it'd be worth trading. Like one of the positions is $10. Like imagine being in a trade for 2, 3 hours to make $10. Not like $28 is any better, but it's better than 10, I guess. And that is the trade closed. It is closed above now. So yeah, that is that trade done. So we ended in this week, we ended in, let me check. This week we ended in profit of $16. 3 losing days, 2 winning days. I'm not even gonna count the day as a winning day. So 1 winning day. 1 break even, 3 losing days, and 1 winning day. We've taken a trade every day this week, which is crazy. Okay, cool. So this is this trade done. I'm not even gonna put a break structure there, but there's a break structure there. Okay, so that is it done. Now I'm gonna go do my weekly recap of the week, but that is this week done.